April 27, 2010. What started as an ordinary afternoon in Xinghua Village, Heilongjiang, China, quickly spiraled into a mystery that would leave an entire community in disbelief. A missing cook, a vanishing brother, and a text message that made no sense. The pieces didn't fit, but the truth? It was buried, deep underground, hidden beneath layers of lies, deceit, and a shocking revelation that would expose one of the most twisted crimes in China's recent history. This is the horrifying case of Su Hong, a village doctor, a struggling mother, and a woman pushed to the edge. But was she a victim or a cold-blooded murderer? Stay with me as we unravel a story so disturbing, it sent shockwaves through an entire nation. The disappearance of Liu Xiyun. On April 27, 2010, a group of construction workers in Xinghua Village were gathered at the canteen for their lunch break. The problem? Their food was taking too long. Impatient and irritated, the workers stormed off to confront the cook. Liu Xiyun, a 65-year-old man who had only just started working there 3 days prior. But when they arrived, Liu Xiyun was nowhere to be found. Frustrated, one of the workers took it upon himself to check Liu's home. The front door was ajar, the lights were still on, but the house was eerily silent. The worker called out his name multiple times. No response. Eventually he left, assuming that Liu had simply gone out. The rest of the workers didn't think much of it. They were more upset about their empty stomachs than their missing cook. But as the hours passed, some started to feel uneasy. Liu Xiyun was not the type to just disappear. He had been divorced for 20 years and had lived alone ever since. He had also struggled to find stable work due to his age. When he finally landed a job as the cook for the construction site, it was his first real employment in years. Would he really abandon it after just 3 days? It didn't make sense. But the concern didn't truly set in until April 29th, when another shocking disappearance took place. The second disappearance, Liu Laoliu. Liu Xiyun's younger brother, Liu Laoliu, was the first in the family to hear about his brother's disappearance. Concerned, he began searching the village, asking around, and retracing Liu Xiyun's usual hangout spots. But after an entire afternoon of searching with no luck, he went to the police station to file a missing persons report. The police, however, were not interested. To them, a 65-year-old man disappearing wasn't exactly a priority. Maybe he had left town. Maybe he just didn't want to be found. Either way, they showed little interest in investigating. Frustrated but with no other choice, Liu Laoliu went home. And then, he vanished too. On April 29th, villagers went to Laoliu's home to meet with him, only to find his front door wide open, just like his brother's had been. The lights were on, but he was nowhere to be seen. When they tried calling him, his phone was off. This was completely out of character for him. For the first time, the community started to panic. 2 brothers had gone missing within 2 days. The family reported Liu Laoliu missing to the police, and this time, the officers couldn't ignore them. Because as it turned out, the police were the last people to see him alive. He had walked into the station just the day before to report his brother missing. Now he was gone too. The investigation begins. With 2 disappearances in the span of 48 hours, the police finally decided to take action. They requested assistance from neighboring villages and formed a special task force on May 7th to investigate the case. The first major lead came from Liu Laoliu's phone records. They found that on April 29th, the very day he disappeared, Laoliu had made 2 calls to the same number. The number belonged to Su Hong. Su Hong was a 40-year-old doctor who operated the local medical clinic. She was married, but her marriage had been troubled for years. 9 years prior, she had left her husband and moved back to her deceased parents' home, where she lived alone most of the time, except for weekdays when her children stayed with her. The police questioned her, and she admitted that she owed money to both Xiyun and Laoliu. In 2009, she had borrowed 5,000 yuan from Liu Xiyun and later 10,000 yuan from Liu Laoliu to pay for her children's medical expenses. But she insisted that she had already paid them back. Villagers confirmed that she had indeed borrowed the money, but they vouched for her character. She was well-respected, generous, and kind. Nothing about her seemed suspicious, at least not yet. The text message. The investigation hit a dead end until May 10th, when something bizarre happened. Liu Laoliu's sister received a text message from his phone. The message read, "Let me be honest with you. I accidentally killed Big Brother. I said I was going to Shandong to find his son, and he got anxious, not letting us approach his son. Why is he like this? At that time, I had been drinking and got into it with him. He got up, so I pushed him, probably too hard. He didn't stand steady, and his head hit the door frame. When I checked, he had no pulse. I was scared, so I took care of Big Brother by moving the motorcycle. I was afraid of getting caught, so I left. It was a confession, but something wasn't right. The police raided Laolyu's home, but found no signs of a struggle. The door frame was clean, no fingerprints, no blood, no evidence of a fall. And then, there was the text itself. Laolyu was barely literate. He never used punctuation, made constant typos, and often struggled with writing. Yet this message? Perfect grammar, perfect punctuation, perfect spelling. It was not written by Laolyu. Someone else had sent it. The discovery. On May 19th, the police returned to Su Hong's home. When asked if she had a cellar, she denied it. But that was a lie. Behind her house, hidden under a pile of weeds, police found a hidden cellar entrance. The moment they opened it, a foul stench filled the air. Inside, they found empty plastic bags, clothing, and human feces. And then, they found two decomposing bodies wrapped in sheets. It was Liu Shuyun and Liu Laolyu. Su Hong had been lying. She was arrested on the spot. But the nightmare wasn't over yet, because beneath the bodies of the Liu brothers, the police found another skeleton, a woman's skeleton. It was Su Hong's sister-in-law. Su Hong's crimes went far deeper than anyone had imagined, and what they uncovered next would reveal the horrifying truth behind her murderous past. With this discovery, Hong was interrogated for 2 days straight. She initially maintained her silence, but under relentless questioning, she finally broke. Through exhausted, tear-filled confessions, she admitted to Zhu Ying's murder. Su Hong's life, a series of burdens and betrayals. To understand the path that led to these crimes, one must first understand Su Hong herself. Born in 1970 in Ning'an, Heilongjiang Province, Hong was the eldest of 3 siblings. From a young age, her parents placed most of the household responsibilities on her shoulders, while her younger siblings were given more freedom. Despite this, she pursued an education in medicine and, in 1986, enrolled at Ning'an Health School. After graduation, she was assigned an internship at the Second People's Hospital. However, in 1990, Hong resigned from her medical career and returned to Xinghua Village, where she opened a small clinic. This decision was heavily criticized by her family, but Hong was determined to build a life in her hometown. In 1994, she married her high school boyfriend. What should have been a fresh start quickly turned into a nightmare. Her husband wasted no time in cheating on her with multiple women. Humiliated and hurt, Hong wanted a divorce, but her parents forbade it. In their rural community, divorce was seen as a shameful failure that would ruin Hong's reputation. She eventually gave birth to their daughter, hoping that the arrival of a child would mend their broken marriage. Instead, her husband ignored both mother and child, leaving Hong to raise the baby alone. When their daughter was just 9 months old, Hong's husband left the village to find work in southern China. He was the primary provider, and with him gone, Hong was left with no income. She had no choice but to return to Xinghua Village with her daughter and reopen her clinic. But life in her hometown was just as difficult. With both of her siblings also leaving to work in the south, Hong was left to care for her aging parents, run the village clinic, and raise her own daughter, all while tending to farm work usually reserved for men. Then in 2001, she received devastating news. Her husband had started a new life in southern China. He was living with another woman and had even gotten her pregnant. This was the breaking point. Hong filed for divorce and for the first time in years began trying to rebuild her life on her own terms. But that same year, another dark secret was about to unfold. The murder of Yan Bingtao. In February 2003, Hong's sister returned home, desperate and terrified. She confided in Hong, revealing that she was trapped in a violent marriage with her husband, Yan Bingtao. A recent argument had turned physical, and Bingtao had brutally beaten her. Seeking refuge, she fled to Hong's home. The next morning, Bingtao arrived at the house, furious. He demanded that Hong return his wife to him. When she refused, the argument escalated. Bingtao threatened to harm his own children if his wife didn't come back. That was the moment something inside Hong snapped. In a fit of rage, she grabbed a beer bottle and smashed it against Bingtao's temple. The impact sent him collapsing to the floor, bleeding profusely. For nearly 10 minutes, he writhed and twitched in pain before finally falling still. Horrified but determined, Hong called her father, confessing everything. When he arrived, he simply nodded. He would handle it. Hong watched as her father dragged Bingtao's lifeless body toward a tractor, doused him in gasoline, and set him on fire under a pile of weeds. She never looked back. To cover their tracks, Hong took Bingtao's mobile phone and sent a fake text message to his family, claiming he had left for work in southern China and wouldn't return until he had saved enough money. The deception worked. No one ever reported Bingtao missing. For the next 7 years, his disappearance remained a mystery. The murder of Li Shuang. In November 2005, Li Shuang returned to Xinghua Village after working in Ningbo, Zhejiang province. From the very beginning, her visit was tense. She immediately asked Hong to lend her 10,000 yuan. When Hong refused, Shui Ying became furious. Later that day, Hong's mother confided in her, revealing that Shui Ying was having an affair. She believed it was shaming the family's name. The accusation enraged Hong. That night, as Shui Ying slept, Hong took a hemp rope and strangled her to death. To conceal the crime, she wrote a fake letter and secretly placed it in Shui Ying's family home. The letter claimed that Shui Ying had left the village with another man and would not return. Since her affair was common knowledge, no one questioned it. To further disguise the smell of decay, Hong dumped garbage and feces into the cellar, ensuring the body would remain hidden. Her mother passed away in 2006, followed by her father in 2008, taking the true location of Bingtao's remains to the grave. If not for the investigation into the Liu brothers' disappearance, Hong might have never been caught. Trial and execution. When Hong's crimes were made public, the nation was divided. Many sympathized with her, believing she was a victim of abuse, betrayal, and societal pressure. Others saw her as a cold-blooded killer who had taken 3 lives. Hong herself, however, showed no remorse. In her trial in January 2011, she refused to defend herself, admitting full guilt and begging for the death penalty. Her only concern was her children's future. On February 10, 2012, Su Hong was executed. Her final words before being led away were, "Tell her to be strong, not like me." Even in death, Hong remained an enigma, a murderer who was both victim and villain. Her story continues to haunt those who hear it, sparking debates about justice, desperation, and the price of survival.